going.
This is the 8-9 Combo.
This is the 8-9 Combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones en route to New Zealand. Hello, mate. How are you?
How's it, man? It's been about 10 years since I was in a top-tier grade A rugby match, and as usual, I was a loose forward, pilfering and such. But I just experienced something that kind of gave me a nostalgia, which was I dropped my 24th AirPod. This is AirPod number 24. And it hit, of course, and magically just sprinted to the back of the plane. 20 rows just kept sliding through everyone's feet as we took off. I mean, it was a big manhunt. And I was down on the floor like David Pocock, like Heinrich Brousseau. I was the rat. I saw things that will never be out of my consciousness. There's things under even in the best business classes and the most flagship of planes. There are things you don't want to see down there. But I have my tools. They're with me.
We probably need to talk about AirPod number 24, but let's maybe save that for another day.
I just haven't. My fingers and my hands, my bearish hands, do not handle the slick contours of the AirPod. They just fly out of my hands, and wherever they land, they always go as far away as possible. And I have to just talk to some nice old lady and go, "Can I look under your skirt for my AirPods?" I'm just getting like red carded by the attendants who are the TMOs.
This is perfectly fine. It's all perfectly fine. Here's cheers, mate. What are we giving cheers to around the rugby world this weekend? I will lead off. I will give you cheers to Australian Club Rugby Grand Final Fairy Tales, mate. Bond University in the Brisbane competition, Uni North in the Canberra competition, both teams claiming maiden premierships, prompting unbridled joy and jubilation. Congratulations to them all. It's their, as I say, their maiden premierships completely. The Uni North thing, they're actually a merger of a couple of clubs in Canberra, so it's actually their first premiership on any part of the merger since the ANU, Australian National University, won the premiership in 1992, who were captained by Laurie Fisher.
Nice. What position did Laurie play?
He was a hooker.
Oh, yeah, it looks like a hooker. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good cheer.
Over the overarm, end over end ball throwing. None of this two-handed torps. No, proper.
It was like a discus throw sometimes. The way they did it.
It was.
My cheer is the revival of an old rivalry. Rivalries need to be a bit closer than what they were for a while between the All Blacks and Springboks. And now that under the Erasmus era, where it's been, I think 7-1-4, one draw, and only 3 of those wins in South Africa. So you cannot really excuse it away and so forth. The dodgy referees from the 70s and 80s. It's a proper rivalry in this decade so far, steering into a possibility that the Boks would actually take this decade. The decade before it was all Blacks. And I think the only reason why we even have sport is it's in lieu of war. It was just to make the young men stop killing each other. And so it's born of rivalry. It's Liverpool against Manchester, that sort of thing. And so it's so refreshing to have this really respectful rivalry where we hate to lose, but we don't hate each other. And there'll be no unless it's an obviously strange thing. There'll be no convoluted, immediate refuge in referee bashing. It's just going to be a straight up contest at Eden Park with lots of things on the line, lots of strange records. 1937, 1963, 4 or 5 in a row. All these people just throwing numbers out, and it's what makes our sport great is we care about friendlies and rugby championships that don't really resonate. It's just Boks All Blacks, and I'm there for it. Yeah,
rivalry's good. Yeah, rivalry's good. Now that's a good one. I like that. It's a good shout. We have another great rugby chat coming up in just a second, but first, mate, please again, from the comfort of LAX, tell the nice people why we would love them to subscribe to the 8-9.
Well, I've got my eye on AirPod number 25, and it's got sound surround and sound equalization. It also makes you feel good. It's got a feature where it actually gives you therapy. And I deserve it. I deserve it because I am your loyal soldier going out there to trench warfare, wading through mustard gas of epithets and insults, all kinds of jackasses telling me I don't know anything about this and that, accusing me of all kinds of things. Give me the money and I'll deliver you bliss.
I just hope it's got handle. If you are watching us on YouTube, then the red subscribe button down there in the bottom corner is what you need. On the pods, Spotify, Apple Pods, whatever it is, then hit follow, hit subscribe, hit like, whatever it is, to make sure that this man gets AirPod set number 25. We're thrilled to hand out another 8-9 debut this weekend, but it's a debut we've had a couple of cracks at handing out, but we are thrilled because we don't get to add 116 Super Rugby games, 62 tests, and 1 NRC appearance for Brisbane City to the guest tally very often. The man responsible for this haul is indeed former Reds and former Wallabies captain, James Horwill. Welcome to the 8-9 Combo Podcast. How are you, mate?
Thanks for having us, guys. Yeah, I didn't... I forgot about the NRC cap for Brisbane City. You forgot the Ballymore Tornadoes there in the original
I didn't
ARC.
forget that. I didn't forget that, mate. I looking it up because I knew it was 100+ Super Rugby games, but I was trying to work out whether it was 50, 70 tests. What was it? Trying to find that number, and then I did see the listing for 8 games for the Ballymore Tornadoes. So
the great Ballymore Tornadoes
with Tim Sampson back in the day. Yes,
yeah.
Of course. So that would make you, by my count, one of only a handful of players who played in both the ARC and the NRC.
Probably, yeah.
There's a bit of trivia for you.
Yeah, there we go. 2006. It was good fun.
There you go. Now we've got to start. I've just got to show you this, mate. The internet has not been kind to you. Literally the first, you know what's coming here, don't you? Literally the first image that comes up when you do a search for James Horwill is this. Like, that's
what game was that? What game was that from?
It was against France in Brisbane, 2008. Yeah,
I was going to say
we played France.
The jerseys tell me it was 2008 somewhere there. Yeah. Right.
It's an unusual. It's an unusual injury. Talk us through that. How did you get?
So we played
guillotined
2 tests against France. That was the second one. We were up. I think we'd scored. We were up 20 odd points, and there was a bit of a scuffle between Stephen Moore and Imal Haranordiki.
Yes.
At a breakdown, there was a breakdown penalty, and they sort of popped out and were having a bit of a scuffle. And I've come in to break it up to look after Squeak. And then he's just started throwing a bunch of haymakers, uppercuts, Haranordiki. He's missed on all of them, so he didn't collect me. And then one of their guys pulled me out of grabbed me by the back and pulled me out of the breakdown. And their tight head prop just comes from behind, so I had no idea, and just big roundhouse and just clocks me straight in the eye, and just the whole thing just blew up, and I couldn't see out. I thought I couldn't tell you what would happen, and then it all puffed up. And so obviously I had a bit of blood from something. So they go, I'll go off for blood. You go off. I got penalised somehow. I don't know how it's starting. And I don't think I got a chance to throw a punch. So I got penalised, went off, and then basically we got a little bit concerned in the medical room because it was so swollen. I couldn't actually move my eye. So the doctors rightfully were there going, mate, you're because I'm like, old school Rocky, just cut me and get me back out there, cut me, get me, trying to be the tough guy. And they go, mate, your eye's not moving, you might have detached your retina, so we've got to take you to the hospital and get that checked. So we had all that the next couple of days, and it was all fine in the end. There was no issue. It just looked much worse than it was. It was just a decent shiner, really. But it was one I didn't see coming, that's for sure.
It blew up pretty quick from memory too, didn't it? Like by the time that was it. That would have been 5. Like I literally copped the whack, which I obviously didn't see because the guy had my arms pinned on the side, and then the punches just come from the side. I had no recollection of it arriving, and I couldn't see out of that eye immediately. So he obviously got me
flush.
Got you properly. Yeah.
So,
It almost
And so
sounds like a set play, like they had that designed.
mate, I think it was because
Yeah.
it was sort of back when, I know France has done that a little bit recently, but they sent a proper like third string side out, and there was a bunch of guys. I think he was paying Prodi Dur at the time, the prop, and both of them got 4 weeks. So Heronautica and he got 4 weeks, which is pretty good back in the day.
Yeah,
but we were up. I'd scored a try to begin with, and probably did a bit of a showboating dive, and I think he was a little bit annoyed at me.
I mean, the prop would have got 2 weeks off if he went to boxing school.
Yeah,
Yes.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a right way and a wrong way to deliver that punch, and that was clearly wrong.
He just needed to show more.
Well, he could have been right. He delivered it. He delivered it very clean to my left eye.
Yeah, true. But the internet gods are they're not looking after you, are they?
It comes out all the time. Anytime you do a speaking gig, someone pops that out. You go to a school, someone pops that out, and then it usually arrives in the paper anytime someone's playing France. That just seems to but sometimes. So yeah, it's one of those ones that'll live with me, and
it will.
I've shown my kids once, and they just don't know what's going on. So, which is quite funny.
How do you do that? Can you do it again?
Well, speaking of trauma, you've always been part of my trauma journey because you scooped up a ball when Scott Berger spilled it and ran it in right in front of me at the cake tin. When we were all so happy, and then we were so very sad.
2011 World Cup, we're talking.
Through quarterfinal, the one and only try of the game.
Exactly, just ran it in, and that changed the whole complexion of the game. So now you were captain during the 2011 World Cup, correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's correct.
Talk us through a little bit of that. There's so many different styles now of captaincy. The captaincy group, the 2 vice captains, Geordie and Artie supporting Scott Barrett, some senior leadership groups at the box. Sort of what do you think in rugby the captaincy really means? To what extent is it a tactical captain, and to what extent is it more of a spirit? We've seen Harry Wilson do that recently, just buoy the spirits.
Well, I think it comes with the way the team's structured, right? I think regardless of whether you've got a C next to your name, depending on the positional play, they're going to be a tactical leader. So your 9s and 10s, regardless of whether they're a captain or not, are a leader on the pitch, purely because that's in their job title. So that's an important role. I think there's an ability to be sort of, as you say, that spiritual or that sort of emotional leader, but it can't be. And I think this is where, you see teams, trying to have big leadership groups or small leadership groups or co-captains. It's a hard, not cross to carry, but it's a hard thing to carry as an individual to do it. And I don't think it's really able to be successful. And so teams, I'd imagine that, you mentioning the All Blacks there, like they've got guys that they've named that support, but I imagine there'd be a group of 5 or 6 of them that would all be supporting that group and how they drive it forward. And it's probably more so recently seeing teams formalize that a little bit more. I think probably if I think back to 2011, we had obviously a core group of players. I was, the skipper, but obviously we still had guys in there that were captains. So obviously Rocky was still involved, who'd been the captain for the last couple of years. Obviously Stephen Moore was there. We had Nathan Sharp at the 2011 World Cup, all who had significant captaincy experience for their provinces and even at the Wallabies at times. So it's never an individual's role. I mean, there's the tactical piece is obviously you've got to try and bring all, as a skipper, probably before on the pitch, you're all really clear on what the game plan is and how we're going to execute it. And then things change during the game. And you need someone who ultimately the decision falls to make that call on whether to, go for touch, kick for goal, drive the messaging of how you want to play in the group. But ultimately, a lot of that's done before you get on the pitch, on the park, on the training park. And it's about delivering that and just having a skipper there to basically guide when things change or things aren't going as according to plan. You just need someone to probably refocus and go, well, no, this is how we're going to do it now, because obviously XYZ is not working. Let's reassess and move forward. And you need a senior leader, guys, to do that on the field and not have to wait, I guess, for coaches at half-time or to deliver that message. It's about sort of being able to change on the run. And I think that's where captaincy is important.
How hard is it to do that? I mean, it occurs to me, I remember seeing Sir Nick Faldo say the difference between a professional golfer and guys like us that can hit the ball a long way and hit good shots is they can diagnose in the middle of the round or the swing what's wrong, and they can fix it. We cannot. It takes us looking at it and going to the range. So I would imagine when you first become captain,
not to mention hundreds of hours on YouTube,
just like discerning what is actually there and seeing it on the pitch in the middle of the battle versus going back and wash up and looking at the vision and reconstructing it. What was that process like to get where you could recognize what was wrong on the pitch and tell the guys, hey, under the sticks, let's do this and this, less of that?
Oh, I think it does come. Look, I'm probably a big believer. That's why most captains are forwards, just because you are closer to the action and you sort of feel the flow of the game. And obviously, a big part of it is obviously feeling the flow of the referee at times. You go into a game expecting something. If the referee is consistent with the way he wants to referee, particularly the breakdown, if you don't adapt, particularly in the modern game, you'll just spend the whole time on the back foot, penalty after penalty. And then, I know a lot of teams aren't taking shots for goal as probably they did back in 2011, more so. I haven't seen the stats on that recently, but I'd imagine that's been a significant shift in the last 2 years, definitely in Super Rugby, but maybe a little bit more in Test Rugby about, hey, we're not going to take shots and goal as much anymore. We're plugging the corners. So you spend a lot of time under the pump if you don't react. So I think it's just about managing and having that flow and being clear on the messaging, because there's 100 things going wrong, and rugby's a really imperfect game, right? Like, everyone's striving for this perfection piece, but you're never going to get it. It's about going, well, what are the 2, 3 things that are going to make a difference right now for the team? And it may be, guys, he's all over the attacking breakdown. Don't play any rugby in our own half. Just kick the ball because we're not going to win. And then just let the game flow a bit and then get back onto it. And it may be as simple as that. Just go, I know we wanted to play 22 to 50, but we're not doing that more. I just want you to kick it and let's, you're better without the ball in hand. I mean, that's a very basic example, but that's sort of something that you've got to review on the run and keeping it simple and having the sort of plan B and plan C that you can turn to in the moment, because you don't want to have to wait to half time, because it can be too late then.
What about the modern referee seems more conversational and even coaching during a game. You think back to when you played, and maybe even when you started your captaincy run. How did you learn how to manage a referee and like does that become another part of your pre-game analysis, working out what you've got to do with this bloke on this afternoon?
Yeah, I certainly did. I mean, probably to begin with, I wasn't that good, and probably finished, I wasn't that good. You get a little bit frustrated, and at times, that's just the way that it worked. But I think now, I guess when you look to the beginning of my career to probably when I finished even playing at Harlequins in the Premiership as skipper, when I finished up there, we used to spend a bit of time on knowing who the referee is, understanding where what they favour. They've got a high, compared to the average, and then working out, okay, well, they don't like chatback, or they react better, for example, with more penalties. I know there were referees in the UK that you'd always look to and go, sir, am I okay? And they'd talk you through it, to your point about coaching, whereas there'd be others that would just go, we're not going to tell you anything. Doesn't matter if you ask it, they just keep their mouth shut, and then basically you get a penalty. So you that then go, okay, well, anytime you're in a position you think you're questioning, just ask the referee. Just go, am I okay? I'm okay. If he says no, get out. If he doesn't say anything, you're good to continue on. And I think that was an approach that we took as a team. And I think probably that was less so definitely when I first started, and then I was first skipper. I probably didn't really focus on that part of the game much. And that obviously comes with better analytics, better data that you get now. I can't imagine the data the guys are able to dissect now. It's probably too much, right? There's a happy medium. There's too much data you can analyze, and you can get sort of just caught up in numbers, and you've got to play with the flow. But there's probably a happy medium where you go, well, these are the trends. It's never going to be perfect, never going to be exact, but you sort of get you work with the trends and go, well, if he gives away more, attacking penalties than anyone else, that means, well, guys, this weekend we've got to make sure that we're on top of our breakdown, the sealing off, and all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, you're gonna get penalised because there's just a trend, and referees are human, right? Like they're no different to you and I. They do make mistakes, and they do have tendencies that are unconscious at times.
Yeah. Were you also calling the line-out? Were you the line-out captain at the same time you were the team captain?
Occasionally, not usually. So obviously when I was there and Sharpie was there, he and Vix used to call the lineouts. And then Bob Simmons mainly did it. I was sort of I did it as I sort of went later, but particularly when I was with Simo, he used to run the attacking side and I'd usually run the defensive side. But I was pinch hit. I'd sort of fill in if he went off. And then you'd bring in, I don't know, say we had Willie Skelton on the bench. If Simo went off for Will, I'd take the calling role, but I was never sort of the primary caller.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sphere in the game that's become so complicated, and it's so mandatory to claim your lineouts and not lose them, that it seems to take on its own playbook. And whether it's the timing of the pivot, the movement before the throw, the call itself, the lift just on the hamstring, not below, not above.
Yeah.
And then the movement almost as a feint. And now you see the box actually putting two towers up. That it seems like it would just be too much to do both. And you see now a lot of teams are saying, that's our line-out captain. I'm not even calling him the line-out caller. That's a game within the game.
Yeah, I mean, I used to love the line-out. I think it's a great technical aspect. I mean, you do then have to weigh it up. I remember you sort of used to, thinking back, you used to play, so you play Wales back in sort of that, 2008 when Gatlin was the coach, where they didn't give you line out. So you'd spend all this time on the training paddock coaching line, and you get 4 a game. Like there was a test we played against Wales, and they just had, their mentality was, we're fitter than everyone. We never kick the ball out. We have 14 in the front line, half penny at fullback, just covering the whole field. And we just pressure. We don't kick the ball out. We don't give people set piece. So you'd play a game against Wales and only have 4 lineouts. Yet you'd allocate hours of video time and training pitch time to try and perfect something where you only got 4 cracks at it. I remember I'm trying to remember who the coach we were going into that week. And goes, I'm not going to bother with it. We've got a really small list because they only give you 4 or 5 lineouts a game. Unless you get a heap of penalties and you kick for touch. You got to sort of weigh up how much time you spend on the pitch. But I agree. I think it's becoming more technical and hotly contested. And that, I guess when we were at the Wallabies and the Reds, we used to sort of split it, particularly with Simo. Like he used to run the attacking side and I'd run the defensive side of the lineouts. And then we'd both swap. We both know what was going on, but we sort of had that partnership that worked.
Have you enjoyed watching some of these tap and go moves instead of the kick to the 5? Some guys straddle the ball and actually tap it forward with their back leg. That's the Dan Sheehan approach. You got Dan Sheehan, in the air now. And they also have a lot of decoys and feints. It's almost like schoolboys rugby, but they're doing it at test level. It's fascinating to me.
No one's brought back the wall yet. I'm looking forward to this sort of turn the back and shift the line and then the old school split. That's what I think we need to get to. I do like, I mean, it's sort of, it's almost proof that, the world is cyclical, right? It all comes back. Everything that was, on trend eventually comes back. Yeah. And tap moves were, I can remember growing up watching tap moves, and even at school, when you're playing like at school, you used to always wanted to spend half your time at training inventing a new cool tap move that was ridiculous, that had some sort of trick play. Now that, I mean, it's a little bit more blunt from the guys at test level, but I reckon that's a data-driven decision, right? Like that's probably like, well, the percentages of us kicking it to touch and winning it and getting turned over is this, where if, I just put my foot on the ball and run forward, there's a bigger chance of me holding onto the ball and making that percentage. So I would imagine that would be something that was driven by teams going, well, everyone's always kicked it to touch, but the stats show that this is our success rate compared to what is our success rate of, pick and going or tap going. I think obviously the new defensive structures around the 5 meter make it really hard to defend, right? Like you have to have your hand behind the line and you see so many guys just put the ball out, inside the ruck. It's makes the pick and go an easy and more high percentage play, and that's where a shift in the rules would be the only thing that would probably change that.
Yeah.
It seems like if you have the right carrier and you do it dynamically, you're always going to get 3 to 4 meters. So that means you're on the doorstep right there, which is all you would want it from the lineout. So I think
exactly
that's a good call. The other thing that's come about is the discouragement of shepherds, escorts, blockers, whatever you want to call it, and that one re-emphasis, which wasn't even really a change in the law, has done more to reshape the game, I think, than some of the other more heralded law variations and experiments. It's just a different game because it rewards both sides. It rewards the kick and the chase, yes, but if you one step and beat that chase, like the Wallabies did to the Springboks at Ellis Park, you're off to the races because you've sent 3 or 4 chasers and you have a fractured line. Isn't it great how rugby can almost change whatever they want, but we don't really know until we see it what it looks like.
Yeah, I think it's good. I remember particularly, and that was one of the things that struck me going when I played for Quins in the UK. And at Harlequins, we were probably the least kick-friendly team in the Premiership at the time. But we used to spend training sessions on literally that: box kicking, escorting, and then taking the catch and then setting up and doing that. And you'd spend hours each week practicing that as a skill, as a team, and then obviously as an individual about how you run the escort, who's going to be what. So when they box kick, you come into place, you'd go, well, this guy, you're taking this carrier, you're taking this runner, you've got to make sure that you're back and next to this guy. And you'd spend the whole time, you'd almost have designated teams allocated to the escort to make sure you kept, particularly teams that did it very well, like back then Saracens, Leicester, these guys that were really good at it. You just spend hours and itemized call people out. So, Kev, you're escorting this guy and that's your role. You cannot let him get past you. So I think that's probably, to your point, Harry, just a really great addition to the game to sort of free it up and make it less, because it was just getting too crowded and too convoluted around there. And you get away with so much because the referee can't look at everything. So,
and it might be a Schmidt thing, but I felt like what I saw was the next step evolution was that the kick receiving team, knowing that you couldn't do the slalom course of blockers and shepherds, they pulled those guys back, and those guys became more of support runners. And so people had both sides to look at. And I think in this very strange way, you might look at that innovation as being one of the dangers of sending 3 kick chasers, because now you've got people off to the races. It happened 3 times at Ellis Park. And it's fantastic because it's the quickest ball of all. You've got basically lanes to run in that no one's there.
Unstructured ball like that is, particularly with the guys that the Wallabies have that are usually carrying those balls back or filling those channels, right? They're just so dangerous in broken field. And that's what they want. That's what that's what gets those guys excited. You want to, unfortunately Tom writes in, but those sort of guys, they just want fractured defensive lines because that's when their eyes light up. They don't want to be running into a brick wall every time. Anytime there's a fractured play, that's what gets guys up and going.
And they're so good at exploiting the space now. They can throw 2 passes and they're 45 meters on the other side of the field, and that's where the space is. So it's funny how, and you're right, Harry. It's not a law tweak. It's not a change or anything like that. It's literally just interpreting it differently or refereeing it differently.
Yeah, it was an announcement, and then they started screaming access for a while. Yeah, and then people got it. Yeah. Job done.
We've got some good games coming up this weekend, haven't we? It's been a cracking rugby championship so far. We know what the results are like for the last couple of weeks. Everyone's got 1 win. The table's nice and tight. Everyone's on 1 win, either 6 points, 5 points, or 4 points. So it's all looking really, really good. What have you loved so much about the opening 2 rounds of the rugby championship this year, mate?
Well, the first part is winning at Ellis Park. I know how hard it is to play test matches there. I was lucky to win some super games at Ellis Park, but never won a test match there. In fact, I remember distinctly getting I think it was 50 odd put on us in, I'm going to say 2008, 2009, after we beat them in Durban. So we obviously won the week before. And then I just know, just how difficult that it is to play, and particularly to come from behind there, let alone the altitude, but just the history and the atmosphere and the emotion that is in that stadium for the Springboks. I just always, it was just such a tough place to play, and I just can't underestimate how impressive that come from behind win was. So, I mean, that's the big thing I've loved. I think it's great that we're going into the second round. Everyone's won a piece. Everyone's beaten everyone once so far. So everyone's lost a game, everyone's won a game. It keeps everyone on their toes, makes these 2 games against Argentina for Australia so important because of rankings, where it considers in the Rugby Championship. I mean, ultimately, we want our guys to win silverware, and these 2 games at home are crucial for us if we want to win the Rugby Championship. We can talk about the Bledisloe when we're playing the New Zealanders, but at the moment, we're in a good position to put a stamp on the Rugby Championship, because likely, it's going to be tough going for the All Blacks and the Springboks. You'd probably back them both to win 1 each. That's what I'm thinking anyway. And then Wallabies win 2 against the Argentinians, and then we're on top of the Rugby Championship table. That's easy, right?
Simple when you put it like that. But it's interesting in that Argentina will be coming here going, well, we've just beaten New Zealand at home. We've got no fear anywhere now. We've beaten Australia in Australia. We can do this. South Africa will be going to New Zealand, going, yeah, it's about time we won at Ellis Park. At Eden Park. We can do this. New Zealand is going, no, there's no way they are beating us on our turf. So everyone goes into this weekend, and this block of the next 2 games, everyone's thinking we can win both these games.
Yeah,
and you're right. It might be a case in 2 weeks' time where everyone's won 2 games and we're still tied. So that might be just about the perfect scenario, Harry.
But that's what we want, right? I mean, that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants good competition. It to be going down to the last round. That's what no matter what the sport is, that's what people want. They want good competition and not knowing who's going to win come the weekend. There'd be a lot of people going, I don't know who's going to win this game, against these Springboks. And that probably hasn't been the same like that in rugby for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that way a year ago for the Wallabies in the Rugby Championship, but it did come down to the final round. And Argentina has been for real for a while. This is the issue about we keep kind of going, oh, they good. They're fire. That back line is fire. It's pure fire. You look at it, just the names are well known now. There's no danger of you saying, I don't know any of the Pumas played. You know every single one of them. Carreras, Chocobata, Cinti. They roll off your tongue because they're great names. But it's also because they play like they did against the Lions and just torched them. They just ran over them. So my other sport, as you know, Brett, is tennis, and I feel like it's almost like breaking serve. It's nothing unless you confirm it by holding your own serve. And so I think the first 2 rounds were a bit like that, where Argentina broke All Black serve the second time, Wallabies the first time, but they couldn't follow it up. It's whichever team can actually do the 2 in a row and get better, because the Box can get better from what that was. The All Blacks can. I think the most intriguing matchup might be, even though I'm going to the one in Eden Park, might be Argentina and Australia. Like, who can hold that who can put their foot on the other one, or is it just going to be another split? That's intriguing to me.
It's and like the two games across the 2 rounds are interesting as well. The Wallabies Argentina are both going to be afternoon games so Townsville this weekend, Sydney next weekend. And then, the All Blacks have very deliberately gone Auckland, Wellington. Like, we're not mucking around here. We're going to make this just purely black in the crowd. It's just going to be 2 of the hardest places to win, although the Box have had a bit of success in Wellington in recent years too, haven't they?
For sure, And also there's 964 caps, I think, that was named in the All Blacks team. So it's another, even though you have Kyle Preston and you have Simon Parker, that's a statement that says we cannot be the team that relinquishes the Eden Park thing, whatever that they call it.
No, absolutely. So let's do that then. Let's get into the teams. Teams have been named. We just saw a Wallabies team, and we'll hit that game first. We saw a Wallabies team just as we hit record. No huge surprises. I don't think it's even. I think largely unchanged from Cape Town. Tom Hooper shuffles into lock. Harry Wilson's back at the at number 8. Otherwise, it's a pretty well an unchanged backline. James Slipper's still not fit. I wondered and kind of hoped that we might have seen Ryan Lonergan on debut in these 2 tests, but that's going to have to wait for another week at least. What do you think of that Wallabies team, James? Were you surprised that not much change?
No, look, probably not. Look, obviously, Big Willie Skelton's a big, figuratively and
literally.
Size-wise, he's a big hole to fill. And I think Tom Hooper is a good guy to do that. It's probably, I was thinking about it and probably didn't think about it, but then thinking back to his Super Rugby form, I remember I spoke to Bernie Larkham at one of the Canberra games this year, and he said he liked Tom Hooper at tight head lock.
Yeah.
Because of, he's much heavier than he probably looks. He's 120 plus kilos.
He's beefed up a bit this year.
He's a solid unit, and gives you sort of that workman-like there by bringing Bobby Valentini in with Harry. You've got 2, genuine line denters in the back row now that you're going to want to have, and we've seen them, when they play together. We saw that a bit in the Lions series, what damage they, particularly Bobby can do. So, yeah, I think it's not really too different to what you'd expect. Maybe if Slips is not fit, he would probably be the only one you'd think coming in at somewhere there, or either on the bench or starting. But maybe he's still having some challenges from that head knock a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, maybe Harry, they're managing him as well, getting ready for the Bloods.
Yeah, but they're missing my spiritual son, Tane Edmed. I don't know what's going on there. He did a Herculean catch in traffic at a high ball. He deserves a start just for that. I mean, he went up from Cape Town right in front of me. He picked it out of the sky, and then he got smeared like cream cheese on a bagel, and he just popped right up and ran around. No, tough boy. Belted. So Daguno, I guess, is in at 23, if I read that right.
Yeah. I kind of slipped back to the bench. Tom Lyon is starting. Obviously, is the other change there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, James O'Connor's been playing all season for the Crusaders as the closer. So in some ways, it was a crazy Ellis Park thing, but it was always you always wondered, could that really be replicated week? So maybe we're down to what could be the highest and best use of James O'Connor today, right now, is the closer. Just come into a difficult situation, no fear, seen it all, done it all, close it out. That way, I think the pressure is not so much on Lina or someone like Tane Edmed to come on. You got the seasoned veteran.
Yeah, and there's obviously a little bit of what's the word? A bit of surety, I suppose. Let's bring Tom Liner in. Let's start building around him, but let's play him with Nick White. Let's give him the experience and the
Speaking of Nick White, James, I've been calling him the shy, unretiring type. I mean, has there ever been quite a story like this where he literally didn't retire, I think, unless I'm dreaming it.
No, in fairness.
One of the best games he ever played, maybe 2 games, follows that retirement. It's literally like one of those boxers who, retires 5 times and wins the championship.
In fairness, he did say he was going to retire at the end of the year. But somehow, and I think Rugby Australia is partly responsible for this, somehow it all then got done up as, okay, cool, we get what you're saying, but we're sending you off now.
South Africa,
so it was just assumed
to my homeland, where he's
test.
Universally, reviled. By the way, he had a great time in South Africa, and he reports on that. But it is funny to just be, the headline is retirement, and then by the way, go play the Springboks over there. And hope it goes away. Hope it goes okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Mel, I think, is Whitey's wife. James, maybe she's going, no, I'm not ready for him home full time yet.
He's got 3 boys, so it's probably the opposite. I think she wants him home, and he doesn't want to go home to deal with the 3 boys. He's like, I've got an opportunity here. I don't think I can stay away from home for a little bit longer and not deal with it. But yeah, look, I mean, he's it's sometimes the way that he's made that decision, emotionally in his head and gone, I'm retired, and really can lift that weight off your shoulders,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like you've been playing with it and going, I don't know if I'm going to keep going on. Do I want to do this? I want to keep playing. I like it, but body's not holding up. And then all of a sudden you make the call, and it's just like this big sort of release, and you go, I've made it. I'm going to retire. It's it. And then you start playing. You're like, I don't have these sort of incumbencies on you that you previously have. And he's been playing, as you said, Harry, some fantastic rugby. I think obviously the injury to Jake Gordon may have influenced that decision a little bit. Around like Joe probably getting on the phone to him as soon as that happened, said, mate, you're not retiring. So you're unretiring. You're like Jimmy Barnes. You just keep coming back. So
I think Joe has actually joked that he and Whitey are in a race to see who actually retires first.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's sort of that sort of way. So I think he's a good guy to have around the team. I genuinely do think that the decision to retire has probably lifted a weight off his shoulders and gone, you know what, this is it. I'm just going to throw the kitchen sink at it. I don't have to worry about the next contract. Like, I've made the call. I'm comfortable with what I'm going to do. Let's just throw it at it. And it's just sort of, I think that's in the way he's playing. He's just sort of playing unencumbered by any sort of big life decisions.
I've said it before, Harry. He's got an end date inside. He's playing with freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you are not an old man. What are you, 40, 41 years old?
40.
So do you ever miss that and kind of secretly think, maybe I'll unretire?
No, I'm definitely not unretiring. That's for sure. Look, you miss I think the parts of the game that you do miss around the team, the change room, the pre-game, the after the game of a win, just the camaraderie that you have of having a group of guys that you go through a lot with, and you emotionally, and some of them are your best mates, and you sort of connect with and achieve things together. But that's fun, and that's what drives you on. But I certainly don't miss nor could my body at the moment put up with any of the rigors.
The what bike? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a story about a guy that's enjoying his best life. Your friend Rob Simmons. I went to a game at the Stoop, your old place, and it was Claremont playing the Sharks. The Sharks had invited me to be part of that little shindig, and Claremont lost. But I'm talking 5 minutes after the final whistle, Robbo was sitting there. Somebody was on the benches outside, shoes off, just on his bare feet, having beers with all of us. With Shark supporters, Claremont, didn't matter. And he said to me, I absolutely love this. Like, I love everything about this. And he's the guy just absolutely does not seem to be quitting anytime soon.
No, I think he just keeps getting more contracts that are bigger and bigger. So I don't think he wants it. I think his probably wife wants him to retire Lucy, but he can't say no. Look, I think I agree. I mean, that sort of stuff it's just not so different to what life like anything outside of rugby. You just sort of, it's hard to understand. But I assume it's the same with every team sport. You just have this sort of connection with not only the group, but the fans, and this sort of part of it that you do miss. And I think you'll always miss when you retire. There's it's something that you can't really replicate doing anything else. So you miss that, but I don't. You weigh that up with all the other sides, and I'm happily retired, but you do miss that sort of camaraderie part of it, and comfortably retired. I'm not even playing. I didn't even play any of those classics because the downside was a little bit too high for me, and it probably a good point. There was a few nasty injuries that came out of those classic matches that I was cleared. Good to stay clear of.
And let me tell you, hamstrings do not heal as well.
Yeah. Brett sprung one of those in a cricket match. Speaking of happiness, it felt like to me, pitch side at both of those games, the Wallabies box, that the Wallabies were a happy team. Because you can see more things that the TV's not showing you, the actual bench, people coming and going, and even behind the scenes. And it also struck me that the Wallabies were in one mind, and that the box were pulled between two minds. To go wide, or to run mauls or not, or to kick chase. And it just felt like Joe had that team really knowing what they want to do, the shape they would want to play on exit, exactly where they want to play between 40 meters and 50 meters, and it was just in sync. Where do you think it goes next, James? Like, what's the next iteration of this before Joe says goodbye?
Well, I think it's about getting that consistency in winning. I think what we've seen from the Wallaby team, over Joe and probably even before Joe, is this sort of inconsistency where we'd have good performances and then we'd drop off, and then we'd give us everyone hope and then drop off. And what we've probably seen, in the Lions series going from second test to third, and then the 2 South African games, we've seen a consistency of performance, even though we've lost 2 of them, and very closely. We've seen a performance that's been consistent that I don't believe in the last, even 4 or 5 years, we've seen that level of consistency from a Wallabies team across performance. And this is taking away the result, because obviously the result is what they're there to do, and they want, you don't play Test rugby to lose, so every game they're trying to win. But the level of performance, that second test against the Lions, losing the last minute, but again, an amazing performance, great performance from match 3, winning at Ellis Park, and then obviously losing in Cape Town, but again, a performance that was right up there with the standard. It's now for the challenge for Joe is they've got to continue that till December, whenever they play whatever the last test is, I think the end of November, December. That's the level, right? They can't drop from that. They've got to stay at that level or go further up. And that's where the challenge for Joe is now, particularly with a couple of injuries and availability sneaking in. Obviously, Tom Wright's a challenge. Not although I think we can fill it, but Will's a bit of a hole to fill, whether he'll come back for maybe Bledisloe or whether we can use him on the Northern Tour. But that's where the challenge comes for us. And I believe for the Wallabies, and that's it's never been different. We don't have some of the depth that some of the other teams do. So when we do start losing our key frontline guys, it's about making sure that next guy is at a level. So I think ultimately the next iteration for Joe is this consistency of, hey, this is the standard now. We don't drop from this. This is where we're at, and this is how we play, regardless of the result. And I think that's where, obviously the public look at it and look at results and don't look at performance. But, I think the last, 4 test matches, we've seen that consistent performance. Now it's continuing that on.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And I think you can see that in the team as well. They know they can play to a level, and so they want to keep pushing to that, keep achieving that. You talk about depth there. Argentina named their side several hours before we came on here. It's pretty strong. I mean, you're in a pretty good position when you can send Joaquin Oviedo back to the bench and bring in Juan Martin Gonzalez on the side, and push Pablo Mateta to the back. I mean, Harry, you mentioned they lose. Guido Petty comes back in on the bench. They lost Thomas Albanose early in that second game against New Zealand, but Santiago Carreras has been there, done that for a long time now. So they're not missing anything there, are they?
It's really a deep team. Like when I did my analysis of the locks and just did those little chuckers I did, Guido Petty is a short lock, but he's one of the most athletic in the air locks that we have in the world. I mean, he's just devastating. He adjusts in the air. He's able to steal things he has no right to. It's not just that he's lifted in the right spot. He gets to the right spot in the air. So they're dangerous for all 80. Because they're developing that second line, that bench that can come in and solve your problems. Santi Carreras is obviously a great player. That back line is just ready to go. They actually remind me of the Wallabies right now in the sense that both back lines are used to playing, not with scraps, but with inferior set piece possession sometimes against other teams, but they're ready to go when it falls their way. It's like, go. And everyone's just running. It looks pell-mell. It's not. There's design in some of those lines. So I think it shapes as a very strange match in some ways because, clashes of styles make fights. Maybe there won't be a clash of styles. Maybe it'll just be both teams going crazy.
We're not going to get 15-12 out of this game. It's going to be 45-42.
Who knows?
Maybe.
This is one of those games where I literally, when people say, "What's your prediction for the weekend?" I've so far said I just have no idea. I just know.
They've always been a hard team to play, James, Argentina, even back when they first came in.
I think so. Look, they're always a challenge. They're always physical, but again, they've always got game breakers that would just out of nowhere, you give them space and they crack it up. I think the big thing for Argentina, and Harry touched on a little bit earlier in the show, was around. It seems like they've loosened that mental hurdle of not being able to beat teams. Now that's and that's happened over the last couple of years. It's not just this year, but they've ticked boxes that they never ticked before about winning away from Argentina, beating big teams in New Zealand, beating Australia in Australia. Like these sort of boxes they've ticked. Now they don't have that sort of incumbents where they were like, yeah, they're good, but they only really play well at home, and it's not. They're only when they're on the road they don't travel well. It's sort of not. And that's gone out the window now. They are a genuine tough team to break down. They make things. They've always got a hard forward pack. I mean, their scrum is always electric. I mean, their hooker Montoya, he'd have to be up there with one of the best hookers in world rugby at the moment.
Absolutely.
I mean,
so good.
He's so good. And so, when you've got a leader like that and a team up front, they're dangerous. And you just don't want to give them a sniff. You always want to, whenever you played Argentina, we always felt, look, don't let the emotion get into it, particularly away from home in Argentina. Don't let the emotion, don't let the crowd get into it. Start well, block them out, and then just you basically will squeeze the game at the end. That's probably changed. And I mean, up in Townsville, it'll be nice, starting to get nice and warm up the north of Queensland. Yeah. And I mean, what a great, also a great stadium. I don't know if you guys have been up there, but it is fantastic.
No, it does look
fantastic stadium to play footy. Hopefully, a good crowd, and it is just a great place to play. So it should hopefully, I think it will be a high-scoring game if the weather. It looks like it's going to be okay. Well, it's always good in Queensland. So. What am I talking about?
I like how every now and again Queenslanders will just go, "Oh, I hope the weather." Oh no, it'll be fine.
That's right. I forgot. Sorry.
There's a little. Yes. It's just that there's a little.
It's 25 degrees and sunny here. So
it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Well, we won't see. We don't have a box team yet, but New Zealand put their team out earlier today. You mentioned a couple of the. Well, you mentioned the experience, Harry, 900 plus caps, even with Simon Parker there at 8, and he was pretty good on debut. And then Kyle Preston on the bench. Artie Savia plays his 100th test as well. I mean, they're not mucking around, are they?
Yeah, so they had problems, and Sevu Reece is the one who has paid the price for that. It was they had their eyeball problems, and so that's one way that they're going. But they've kept faith with some of the other compositions that people have not liked. So people in New Zealand are saying, not enough change, Razor. Not only have you been kind of boring, conservative all along, now when you're facing this crisis, you should have done even more. So you have Rico Ioane back to the wing after forgetting how to play wing, by playing center, which he probably was never supposed to play anyway.
Yeah.
The mixed up Rico. And then the other thing is Tupou is moved over to lock. And I think it's Holland that now goes to the bench. And so what they've been reading into that in New Zealand so far is that they're creating their own bomb squad. And so you look at the bench and you see sort of this, the All Blacks have been the best 1 hour team in rugby for a couple of years, but they just are not winning that final one. Boxer won 8 out of 11 since 2019, the second half, 8 out of 50 before that. So All Blacks always finish strong, haven't been finishing strong. And so I think, Razor knows that. It's just interesting. I don't know if this is the right set of moves to make that much of a difference. It strikes me that it won't make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
Except for obviously the Reece, that is a big change.
He's gone for size in the back row, so he's exactly, actually. I heard there. He's actually moved Parker to the blind side. Back in. So he's gone big in the loose forwards, but that's going to be to contend with what he's expecting from the box. And now we're going, is it going to be 5-3? Is it going to be 7-1? Is it are they picking a back rower in the centers again? It's the great unknown. Look, there's two little giveaways that we know how serious this game is. The first one is the All Blacks brought Wayne Smith back to training this week, so that's always a surefire sign that things are getting pretty pretty serious. And then the other one is that Rassie admits that, no, probably don't want to name the team on Monday and let them look at it for 3 days beforehand. So, you know, I think both teams are admitting that there's actually a fair bit on the line in this contest, which is it's going to be a cracking game. It really is.
I mean, one thing, and James, you can bear me out on this. Razor is a remarkably honest guy. Rassie is, in this iteration of himself, a very candid guy. And so it's actually fascinating. These two coaches will give you stuff at the press conferences. It's not just the same old corporate speak. Joe's like, you know, very careful. Borthwick just said the same, we're on a journey. These two guys just say stuff, and they don't seem to have any filter. It's great.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
It's been
I think they're good. I mean, it's good to see coaches. I think it's like you look at the modern game in the way that, you know, it's broadcast and it's all about trying to win eyeballs and win people and win fans. Like, that is part of what does it, I think, is just that honesty and complete bluntness of like, well, I'm not going to talk any shit. Like, this is why we did it. You know, you may not agree with it, but this is it. And that's, I think people can resonate with that more now than sort of, as you say, the corporate, you know, and I guess that's what rugby a little bit has been criticised over time. You're sort of a bit reserved and not being yourself and not allowing people, whether coaches or players, to sort of express who they are. And I think it's good. You know, Rassie's probably certainly broken that mold from a coaching standpoint. You know, some of the stuff he was doing on Twitter at times, and him dancing, you know, after having a few too many rums may have brought that along board.
It's the two dancing coaches.
Yeah,
well,
it's true.
So the thing about Razor that's funny, and people criticize him in New Zealand today about this, is he voiced emotion. He said there's a fear factor, that there can be nerves. And I think that's generational. I think he knows his players well enough to know that maybe in a different generation, you go ahead and admit the fear. You understand it. You talk about it. Artie Surveyor says all the time that he's panicking the whole time he's playing because everyone's bigger than him. And whatever works, right? So it's not all just stiff upper lip, no emotions, you know, do the job. I think, you know, but to me, Brett, I think Razor, it feels like he has more pressure. And it feels like, were he to go down for the 5th time in a row and have this sort of gap start to open up in this decade and not seem to have revolutionary ideas and have to bring Wayne Smith, it just it's a look of Razor in trouble.
I think you're right. And I think you're right because Rassie's already lost at Ellis Park this year. So he's already moved. He's already moved on. If he doesn't win at Eden Park, that's because they haven't won at Eden Park for a long time.
Sure. Yeah.
If Scott Robertson is the coach that loses at Eden Park, holy moly! Like that's going to stay with you.
Yeah. Then you've lost to Argentina for the first time in Argentina. You've lost your 1937 Hoodoo Fortress thing. You've broken the Eden Park thing. Yeah. Yeah. The Kiwis are not loud, but there'll start to be a lot of whispers. I would say that.
I think it's a fair point. I think it's a fair point. I don't think there's any point asking us to tip winners. I think we all know where we're going to go there. So let's think about margins for both games. What are we thinking?
I reckon Eden Park will be decided by a couple kicks or one kick. Someone's going to have to make a kick. Someone's going to miss a kick. And that might be the decider. Like I said, I have no idea about Argentina, Australia. I could foresee the most amazing, crazy game. I could also see a lot of niggle. I could see, just fantastic chaos.
Yeah. Where are you thinking, James?
Yeah, look, I probably think the Springboks Kiwi game is probably won by less than 5. I'm with Harry on that. Like, I can't see it being much. I think it'll be, to your point, both teams won't want to lose, particularly the All Blacks, right? They may be playing just to not lose rather than to win, and that can be good, or that can stifle teams. And then I think it will be a bit more open up in Townsville. I think it's going to be. I think the Wallabies will get the job done by sort of 12 plus. I think they'll have a bit more power behind them. I just think the travel with the Argentinian, I think it'll take them a week to settle in. I think we'll see a better performance from them in Sydney. I just think you think about where they've had to come. If they've had to fly to Sydney, they go from Argentina. I think they have to go through Chile to Sydney. There aren't that many direct flights from Sydney to Townsville.
True.
It's just like when you think about it, there's a lot. You see a lot of the Cowboys guys, in Brisbane, they got to go from Sydney to Brisbane, Brisbane to Townsville. It just sort of takes a toll. I don't know how early they got out here, but it's just we've taken them out of their one step out of their comfort zone. So just maybe it's a bridge too far for this first week. Is my thought. I think you'll see a better performance next week from the Argentinians, but I'm expecting the Wallabies to get the job done.
It's a good point. You guys that outside Australia, no one has ever heard of Townsville. And when they staged all those games there post-COVID or during COVID, whatever it was, we were like, what is that place? It looked fantastic, though. The pitch, the stadium.
Oh, the new stadium's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. It's right in the centre of town. Like the old one used to be a long way out, and it wasn't the dairy farmers, but this new one, walking distance to sort of the real sort of, bar and restaurant district.
Literally a converted
middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Middle of nowhere.
New one's good. I would love that new stadium here in Canberra. I was thinking less than 5, less than 10, but you've convinced me a bit, James. I'll recede out to less than 12, but I think it'll be tight. I think
they'll both be great games.
They will.
Really
they really will.
Games.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But this has been a great chat. We've I joked that we've had a couple of cracks to do this year.
My fault as well. My fault as well. My
I don't think that was all
wasn't overly flexible at times.
I think there was one of my doing in there as well. But no, this has been great. We really enjoyed this chat. It's been great to get your insights and particularly on captaincy and things like that at the start. That was really good. Thanks so much for giving us some time and having a chat.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man. And your eye looks great, by the way. It seems to.
Thanks, mate. It's only taken 15 years. It's fine. It's only taken 15 years to get better, which is good. That's why I wear glasses now.
All right, cheers, man.
Good stuff.
Thanks, guys.
This is the 8-9 combo with Brett McKay and Harry Jones. And, mate, so good. I really enjoyed that. Great to finally have James Horwill on the 8-9. That was a great chat.
Yeah, you know him. I've never actually seen that level of discussion. What an intelligent guy, perceptive guy. You can tell why he's a captain and why he was always picked as captain in England, Australia. It doesn't matter. He's the guy. He's the captain. That's the vibe I got from him, and really cool. And I'm proud of rugby players so much. So many rugby players you run into, and the things we're doing, and the things I'm doing online and social media. It's a really good caliber of person. Actually, we have a lot of really nice, smart, well-meaning, properly adjusted people in rugby. It's awesome.
Yeah. I first spoke to James a bit over 12 months ago, and I did a profile with him for Rugby Pass for a year out from the Lion series, and he went to great details to relive his whole suspension thing from 2013, and I then bumped into him a couple more times this year through different games and all that, and then I saw him in Brisbane somewhere in the lead up to the first test, and I'd seen different interviews and different clips and things with him, and I just said to him, "How many times do you reckon you've retold the story now?" And he just went, "So many." But I was one of the first ones, and it just sort of got it rolling, and it started him off. So no, great, really good to have him. Really enjoyed that. We can wrap this up pretty well, mate. Women's Rugby World Cup games continue. Knockout stage begins next weekend. On that, in the NPC in New Zealand, Canterbury is still the only unbeaten team after 5 rounds. It's round 7 of the Curry Cup, and Greca's playing Lions is first against third, which is suddenly interesting. The Lions have snuck into the 4 up there, but I can still understand having a look at the table and seeing where Western Province are, why you don't want to talk about this. The Test match postmortem, the Rugby Championship postmortem.
However, we have named the Stormers team to play, so we'll probably win this week.
Yeah, well, this is probably true. The Rugby Championship postmortem is back this weekend, and we'll actually follow the AB's box game in Auckland as well. So we'll cover off both games in that, which will be fantastic. Really looking forward to getting into that. You're in for a good treat.
Yep,
here in Auckland
I'll
this
be in the
weekend.
belly of the beast. Incredible media team. Juliet and Caitlin. They even have media drinks night, which is fun.
Isn't
which was
that quaint?
cancelled tonight because of the box announcement being rescheduled. But just in general, couldn't be nicer to deal with, that whole media team. And of course, Zena and the guys from the Saru as well. But it's a good feeling. There's a good vibe around
Yeah,
All
cool.
Black Springboks games, because even though it's bitter rivalry, it's not bitter. It's just fun.
It's gonna be proper. Anything else you need to add before you go and run for a plane?
I'm going to go to that plane over there. I can see it. Gate 41 at LAX.
Good-o.
Cheers.
That then is another great episode of the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast behind us. Our sincere thanks to James Horwill for joining us. It genuinely was a great chat. Tell us what you think by following Harry and I on the socials and finding the 8-9 Combo on the socials as well. You can have your say right here on the 8-9 YouTube channel, and you can on Spotify as well if you're listening to us on the pod platforms. We'd love to hear from you wherever you are. Ratings, reviews, shares, all of that we love. So please do. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed in a rugby podcast. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones, and we will be back in your ears post match on Saturday.
Come fly with us. And by the way, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday, mate.
Here goes Jones with another bruising run. He links up with McKay, who pops back to Jones. They can't. They won't. They will. What a try. The Dream Team Combo go in again.